Hey guys, what's happening? So we are back for more Ultimate Black Panther. And in this issue, once again, Bryan Hill manages to set things up in a way where it'll have you looking at new elements and characters and wondering if they are good or evil. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so coming back, we pick up with Khonshu, who's running for his life. He's leaking out and he's terrified. And it's not long before we find out that the person who's giving him all this work, plus overtime, is none other than T'Challa, the Black Panther, as he stands over Khonshu saying, "It seems God has fallen, but can he find the strength to stand?" Which then leads to Khonshu creating a lightning sword construct and coming after T'Challa again. But T'Challa just handles this like it's nothing, because not only does he destroy Khonshu's sword, but just after that he finishes this fight with the Black Panther brutality by just punching through this guy and ripping out his heart. But with seeing with how all this is going down and how it's so easy for T'Challa, because he just walked right through this encounter like, whoa, look at this god scream, look at this god die. And it hasn't been this easy for T'Challa up to this point, or he would have done this sooner. But we find out what's happening in just a moment here, after T'Challa hears a voice saying, "You serve well." So he turns around and tells the stranger, "I serve no one," as they go on to say, "King of nothing, slave to the ancients, you serve the will of the cosmos. Did you think you could use the element without humility? Did you think you control it?" So right there, T'Challa's like, I think I don't need vibranium. Only for this entity to tell him, "Strong words, slave. Then free yourself." And you can tell with T'Challa saying, "I think I don't need vibranium," there's not a lot of confidence behind that. But also when he says it, things start to get really trippy, because his hand sticks to his face, he tries to pull his hand away, and his face is coming with it. And it's right here where this voice tells him, "You are vibranium." And it's here where we find out that all of this was just a dream that had turned into a nightmare. Though in the scope of everything that's happening with T'Challa and his recent change, it's more so a vision that he's being shown that he needs to figure out. And so of course when he wakes up here next to the throne sweating like crazy, his wife Queen Okoye comes out to him, asking T'Challa what this nightmare is about. But instead of just telling her right away, he's just like, "My dreams are mine to ponder." So in response, she more or less tells him like, "Look at yourself, leaving your bedchamber in the middle of the night, only to be found shaking in front of your throne. When you suffer, you do not suffer alone. I shouldn't have to say that." And T'Challa kind of goes off here, because he says, "So should I say that I fear our strength may be corrupting us, and that vibranium has secrets we do not understand? And then should I say that I have no concept of what to do?" So Okoye responds saying, "If that is the truth." So next, T'Challa just tells her he's going to the lab because he needs to work, but as he leaves, Okoye tells him that Shuri wants her war, which right there is just a callback to a lot of what we've seen going on with Shuri, which for the most part was in the first 4 issues, because even before their father T'Chaka was killed, we saw how Shuri had this burning desire to do more for Wakanda, even though she's practically designed all of their weapons single-handedly. But after the death of T'Chaka, we saw Shuri take things to the next level, with her introducing new weapons and new gear for T'Challa and Killmonger. But this fire that she has now was made even more fervent not too long ago when T'Challa went missing for a month. And this is something that Queen Okoye had seen up close. But coming back to the here and now, because now with T'Challa being confronted and reminded about Shuri wanting her war, which as we've seen recently, the war's already started. But for T'Challa, it's one of those things where he's like, "Tell Shuri, I dream of Khonshu, of Moon Knight, and tell her in every dream he dies with his blood on my hands. This is not her war, it's mine, and it seems I have already won." And you can tell right there that both Shuri and T'Challa are missing the more important point, which is that this war doesn't belong to either of them individually, but instead it's something that's much bigger than them and even this world for that matter. But following this, it's here where we go back to Killmonger and Storm, who are making their way back after recently finding and freeing the Sorcerer Supreme, or better yet, Sorceress Supreme. And on their way back as they're traveling by ship, we head into a conversation between her and Storm where she asks Storm to tell her about where they're heading, to tell her about Wakanda. So to sum it up, Storm tells her it's a kingdom in isolation, at war with a man who might be a god. And so the sorceress, Anan, she asks Storm, like, might be a god? Usually gods are certain, but as it turns out, they've been traveling for weeks. So Storm lets Anan know that throughout all this time, she's hardly told them anything about her. And her reasoning behind this makes sense, because she pretty much figured with Storm and Killmonger finding her, that they had already knew everything they needed to know. So again, Storm tells her that they were just sent to find someone who knew magic and someone who could help him kill a god, only for Anan to respond saying that she likes the sound of Anan, the god killer, which at this point frustrates Storm because it sounds like Anan has something to hide, because in this conversation it's pretty clear that Storm wants to know why Anan was locked up, but instead it's just like the sorceress is just talking circles around any details. But she starts to explain things by telling Storm, or better yet answering Storm's question by saying, because magic is a science people don't understand, and it's a power they cannot control, which scares those who do not wish to be humble. Nice big boat you have here, but the ocean is bigger. And with saying this, she looks out to the water and she says, show them. And when she does, this insanely huge megalodon comes out of the water and it does a free willy over this container ship. And I mean, of course, this megalodon is a lot bigger. Like, it makes this cargo ship look like a toy in a bathtub. But when this is done, and for demonstration purposes, of course, the first thing I thought about was that scene from Free Willy. Sorry. But Anan goes on to explain, this is why I was in captivity, because I know how small I am in the fabric of the universe. My enemies don't. And I might have destroyed a warlord because I didn't like his ethics. There's also that. And I gotta admit, it has me thinking, which warlord are we talking about? Because I'm hoping that's something we learn more about at a later date. But for a moment here, with Killmonger also having seen the Megalodon eclipse from just a few seconds ago, he asks Storm what are her thoughts on the Sorceress Supreme. So Storm tells him that she's joyful chaos, but that really doesn't tell him if Storm is either for or against her. And really at this point, Storm hasn't decided yet. But as they're making their way, more agents from the damage control site show up in a helicopter and they just open fire, catching everyone off guard. And just seconds into this attack, Killmonger gets fatally injured. And at first, Storm, she tries to help Killmonger and fight back at the same time, only for the Sorceress Supreme to step in and tell Storm, tend to your friend. These people are here for me. Worry not. I will do this with pleasure. So immediately after this, she puts up a protection barrier so they don't get shredded. But I gotta say, with the way that she handles these guys, it makes me think of some of the things that I really like about her character, even though we don't know her that much yet. But even with that being the case, I like how there's this darkness about her. Whereas like on one hand, she's the Sorceress Supreme, so you imagine that she means well, but at the same time, there's this dark and mysterious element that has me thinking like, this might be one twisted individual. Because the next thing we see is her stop this chopper and make its engines fail, only to then call back the Megalodon to feed on these guys before they even land in the water. And it's just like, oh man, was that even necessary? Because she could have just opened a portal in front of that railgun and had these guys just shoot up themselves or something. Because in comparison, that would have been a kind gesture. But no, she settled on giving these guys a terrifying death. But also right now, with Killmonger dying, the Sorceress Supreme tells Storm to step aside so she can help him. And she also tells Storm to trust her. So following this, she steps in to help Killmonger. And she tells him, I feel your will. It's strong. It will make this easier. And I gotta say, that right there just reminds me of what the sorceress said when they initially freed her. Because back at the time when she was using that one guy to talk through, since she had a muzzle on her mouth that wouldn't allow her to speak but so loud, at the time she said, I just know the ways of above and below. And you're here about the vibranium. Y'all don't know what it really is, but you stink of it. I'd love to have a conversation about it with you, Eric. Easy to make this fella talk. Hard to make him do strong things. You look strong. I've done about all I can with my whispers. And really it's like that right there just has me thinking like, okay, for starters, her power or her spells rely heavily on her ability to speak. And it's very similar to what we've seen with Dr. Stephen Strange, where in his case, his hands are like the first thing I think about. Like if I had to make a list of things that set him apart from other sorcerers or magic users. Because I mean, the thing is, he definitely speaks spells as well. And he's well known for having the ability to find unconventional solutions when facing impossible odds, which is what made him an exceptional surgeon. And with being an exceptional surgeon, the steadiness and precision of Strange's hands went on to make him an exceptional sorcerer as well, which in a lot of ways took something that he greatly depended on as a neurosurgeon and turned it into something that greatly enhanced his abilities as a sorcerer, which is also why when we covered the death of Doctor Strange, when his body was found, the killer had taken his hands as well. So for that reason, I believe something as little as a conversation with this Sorceress Supreme, it can be very dangerous. And prior to this, not only has she mentioned that she wants to have a conversation with Killmonger, but she's also implied that she wants to use him for his strength. So yeah, we're gonna have to keep an eye on her when it comes to Killmonger. Cause I imagine the Sorceress and T'Challa are going to pull Storm and Killmonger in two different directions at some point down the line. But in the here and now, the Sorceress, she ends up healing Killmonger by creating a small rift between time and space to accelerate his natural healing process. So when Storm asks her what exactly she's doing, the sorceress explains this to her, and Storm's like, well, you can do that? Only for the sorceress to tell her, when I'm motivated. And you know, here I can only imagine for Storm that it's answers like that just make it hard for her to put a pin on this woman and decide whether or not she can truly trust her, because it's very rare that she gives Storm a straight answer. Even when Storm asks here, were those your captors? And the source was just like, well, you know, I've ruffled a lot of feathers in the world. Who knows? So yeah, again, it appears that she means well, but at the same time, it's pretty clear that there's more under the surface. But now with them being safe for the time being, the sorceress tells them that she's going to accelerate their departure. So she opens a portal and tells them, Africa is this way. Let us waste no more time. You set me free, and you almost died protecting me. Anon, the Sorceress Supreme, is at your service. Perhaps your Wakandan king has found his god killer after all. And I gotta say, with the way this is unfolding, with it being hard to tell who you can trust, with it first being the whole thing with Queen Okoye, and now the Sorceress Supreme, and to an extent even Vibranium itself, like I'm looking forward to seeing what's around the corner, cause I got a feeling that we're in for some twists and turns. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants some more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.